Hey friends, what's up? Ash here, welcome back to Gents. Hope you're doing well. I have yet another Elixir fragrance for you guys today. It's of course the newest robot overlord release, Phantom Elixir. Phantom Elixir. And I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with some of my videos I've been doing here recently, but I've had a little bit of that sickness. Been listening to too much Disturbed, yeah. I was indeed down with this sickness, but I'm on the up and up because I went to the old Dr. Reno and they gave me everything under the sun. I've had this little thing, don't know if you've heard of it. It's called walking pneumonia. Yeah, that's fun, that's cool, I like that. But no worries, I will probably pull through. Some people are like, dang it. But if you have been following along with me through these videos where I sound like the Walking Death, it's because that's what I had, the Walking Death. Back to fragrance. So yeah, Phantom Elixir, the newest in the Phantom lineup, and they just had to do it, man. They just had to make it an elixir because that's what we do nowadays, I guess. That's the move, right? Everything is elixir, yeah. It's a little bit funny to me because I felt like, you know, with last year, that we were kind of on the other side of the elixir slope, right? Kind of like a bell curve. And so when you get to the top, that's when everybody's naming everything elixir, but then, you know, on the way down, it kind of goes out of fashion a little bit. I was wrong. 2025, apparently. Elixir is more popular than ever, so yay. So I bought this one directly from Paco Rabanne's website. It was 160 doll hairs for this 100 ml size bottle. Interestingly enough, at Macy's, it is $162 US, so ever so slightly pricier if you go through Macy's. If you don't like a 100 ml size, it also comes in 50 ml and 150 ml. And through Rabanne's website, those sizes are respectively priced at $125 and $202. So I'll have this one linked in the description if you want to check it out down there. For now, let's get started by taking a look at this beautiful presentation, and then we'll talk about the scent itself. First off, we have the box. You have on the front, name of the house, name of the fragrance, size, and concentration. It is a Parfum Intense. And as I said, mine is a 100 ml. You have the little Rabanne logo up on top of the box, nothing on the sides. It works like a very poorly done mirror though. On the back, you can see that this is 90% natural origin formula made in France. And on the bottom, you have your badge code, barcode, and ingredients. My badge code is 42691. Here we have the Phantom Elixir bottle. It's got a gradient where at the bottom, it essentially looks like the original Phantom and then goes black toward the top. So a little bit like Phantom Parfum if it wasn't matte, and then changing into the original Phantom in terms of the color scheme. You have a little PR on the front, that original Paco Rabanne logo. You have the new logo on top of the atomizer. On the bottom, you have a little information, including your batch code. And as always, why don't we go ahead and do a couple sprays of our little robot friend here. Here we go. Atomizer's not too bad. All right, before we hop into Phantom Elixir and talk about whether this is worthwhile or not, here are some codes you guys can use to save money across different websites. Those JOMASHOP codes change every couple months, so be aware of that. They only work within the JOMASHOP app, but you can use those to save yourself some money. Then all the other codes work like normal through their websites, their respective websites. So Max Aroma, the Perfume Box, and others. All right, let's start digging into Phantom Elixir. So it kind of goes without saying, but when the original Phantom came out, this one right here, it caught a lot of flack. Main reasons for that are kind of obvious. First one, it looks like a little robot, and some people are not gonna like that. They're gonna find it very tacky, cheesy, whatever. So if you really hate the Paco Rabanne Phantom bottle design, probably don't like the Elixir one either, do you? But it wasn't just that. Phantom was sweet in typical Paco Rabanne fashion. It had a lot of vanilla, definitely more of a sugary, sweet, saccharine, sweet vanilla, along with lemon and a good dose of lavender as well. Now it is really popular, it sells extremely well, it's versatile, but definitely more of a youthful leaning scent overall, talking about the original Phantom. And a lot of those same notes carried over to the Parfum iteration and the Intense iteration as well. So along with a lot of those notes that carried over, you also had the introduction of Toulouse Balsam and Rhubarb and this iteration right here, which gave it a nice deepness as it dried down and a little bit of a different tangy opening. And then in the Intense, you actually had an introduction of Orange Blossom along with rum as well, which gives it a nice wearability, a little touch of freshness there. And a lot of people actually do find this one at least as of right now, to be the most wearable of the bunch. But what about this one? That's really what we care about, right? Phantom Elixir. Well, they took the note breakdown and they really stripped it down, which this has been a bit of a recurring theme when it comes to fragrances, but you can look across all of these and they've got a pretty hefty note breakdown that let you know, this is the opening, the mid, the dry down, this is what you can expect. When it comes to the new one though, just 4 notes. So you have marine notes in here, aquatic notes, sea notes, however you want to say it. Then you have mineral notes in the mid along with oud, and then in the dry down, the base, vanilla. That's your note breakdown. And when it was first announced, it was like, well, I wonder if this is gonna be similar to Tom Ford's Oud Mineral, because that's a fragrance that kind of made use of that minerality along with oud. And I gotta say, it doesn't. It doesn't really remind me of the Tom Ford at all. It's a completely different fragrance, approaching things in a completely different way. So for some of you, maybe that's a good thing. For others, maybe a bad thing. For me personally, I'd say more of a good thing because, nothing against Tom Ford's Oud Mineral, but that kind of fragrance, I don't know that really fits in very well with Phantom. So when you first spray Phantom Elixir on, it might actually be a little bit fresher than you would expect. Now, to be fair, it does have aquatic notes in there, marine notes, but that oud aspect is not really at the forefront at all when you spray this one on. So it's actually fresh, kind of clean, has a nice zinginess to it. It's got like an effervescent kind of pop to it, and that vanilla comes across pretty clearly. So you do get that vanilla right away, even though that's technically a base note, you can pick it up right off the top. And that vanilla does bring this in line with the other Phantom fragrances. And so that vanilla is gonna remind you of the other Phantom fragrances, the way that it comes across, but I will say it's not a retread of these ones over here. It's not something that's just, the exact same with a couple little tweaks or anything like that. I think it's doing its own thing enough that it's not redundant to own this if you already own one of these or even all of these. And certainly the way the vanilla comes across in Elixir is not as sugary, bubblegummy, aggressively sweet the way it is in especially the original Phantom. It's a little more reined in the Elixir. It's a little bit deeper overall, not as like melted candy, sugary sweet. So that's actually really pleasant, at least to my nose, because it has that appeal that a sweet fragrance has, that compliment factor that so many people seek out in a fragrance, but it's a little more wearable for me. And just, a little bit less in your face, a little bit deeper, a little more character, a little more class to it, which is funny to say, talking about a fragrance that is sprayed out of essentially a child's robot toy from the 50s, but whatever. So as this one starts to dry down, the minerality comes out, those mineral notes. And it actually has kind of a green, almost semi-leafiness around the edges of the fragrance, obviously not an official note in the scent or anything like that. But as it dries and those marine notes kind of start to fade into the mineral notes, you do pick that up along the edges. It's also like lightly soapy clean in a way. Not so much that I would call it a soapy fragrance, but it does have like soapy clean mineral aspects to the scent profile. And that vanilla actually, to me, is more sweet off the top. As it dries down, even though, again, the vanilla is a base note, it's not quite as forceful as the fragrance dries. Still there, a nice, pleasant, light sweetness, but just not like a hammer of vanilla, right? Not just like smashing you from the opening into the mid into the dry down. The oud that's in here is definitely a light oud. It's not this, funky, powerful, beastly type of oud wood note. It's more like lightly spiced, semi-dark, but then you have all these other cleaner notes that are kind of working alongside it that kind of elevate it up a little bit. They keep it from becoming heavier. There's no barnyardy aspect, nothing like that, which is probably not a surprise. I don't think anybody would expect to get a Phantom Elixir and have some like funky barnyard, super powerful nuclear oud. Like that would be completely out of left field. But yeah, it doesn't have that going on. Really just more of a pleasant designer oud woody note. Maybe you catch like a little hint of an edginess to it. If you were gonna compare it to like cedar or something, it does have a little more edge than that, but it's definitely nothing to be worried about if you're, thinking, maybe that's gonna take it and make it less wearable. It doesn't. And then into the dry down for me, it's more of a woody scent profile. you know, that oud again, along with that faint minerality that carries over all the way into the dry down, and a pleasant light sweetness from the vanilla, not overloaded, not overdone. In typical fashion, it is a more mature, slightly higher end scent profile that still stays true to the original. Some Elixir fragrances, to be fair, have been completely different and removed, like Sauvage Elixir, Gucci Guilty Elixir. Like, they don't really smell like the fragrances that came before them. But then you have a lot of elixirs that are, you know, taking the DNA that's established and just trying to elevate that a little bit, you know, bump up the class a little bit, maybe make it slightly less sugary, slightly less youthful leaning, just a bit of a higher end experience, I guess, but still keeping in line with what the fragrance has established as the DNA of the lineup, right? That's really what this one is doing. I will say, to my own taste, I think this is way better than the original Phantom. I find it really easy to wear, high quality, smells extremely pleasant, really versatile, and the typical stuff that will get lobbed towards Paco Rabanne is too sweet, too loud, you know, too childish. And you could still say that the presentation here, you know, it leans toward that. It's loud, you know, it's childish in a way. I think it's kind of grown on me a little bit, honestly. Definitely stands out. But the fragrance itself here is well done. It's got a nice blend. Like I said, easy to wear. It's not really pushing boundaries. It's not really trying to do anything crazy new. I know, like, when I first saw it with the oud notes and the mineral notes and things, I was like, wow, I wonder how far they're gonna push it. The answer is not that far. But what they have here does smell really nice. My wife thinks it smells great. Really easy wearing, fall, wintertime fragrance. I think younger guys, even though it's not as like sugary sweet as these, like I've said 15 times, I think younger guys can pull this off too. It's not just like middle-aged and older. I think just about anybody can wear this stuff. Daytime, nighttime, doesn't matter, fall, winter. And where it's got a nice little freshness to it too. I think you can wear it during the spring. And off its ester strip, a little simple, but oof, good. Mainly vanilla. Little touch of an aromatic edge to it. Like I said, when you spray it on, you get kind of this like leafy green carbonated kind of thing around the edges as you head through the mid. I do think if you're looking for something maybe a little more boisterous, you know, one of these might work a little better for you than this one, but just with that nice ease of use, I think I would reach for this one the most out of any of these. Oh, and in terms of performance, I know the expectation is just absolute monstrous performance because, of course, it's a Paco Rabanne, it's an Elixir, and it's a Parfum Intense. Now, don't get me wrong, longevity is solid. It sticks around for a long time. And the projection is good. It's not weak at all, but it's not maybe quite as strong as I initially anticipated it to be, which is not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing, because with a lot of fragrances, you know, if it gets to that point where you do a few sprays and it feels like it's seeping through your skin, you know, just like boiling away at your skin and just projecting like a mini nuke from Fallout, you know, just eradicating people around you. Yeah, I don't need that strong. That's okay. That takes my usability factor from the upper quadrant down to like middle or lower quadrant. I don't actually think of fragrances in that way at all, but for the purposes of right this minute, this second, that's what it does. If it's just too strong, sometimes you don't wanna wear it, you know? Because you do like one spray, two sprays, and you're like, okay, that's good, that's enough. Sometimes I like the fragrance to project well or average, or sometimes even below average, because I don't want something so ungodly strong that after I spray it on, 30 minutes later, my eyes are red, they're watering. You know, it looks like I just came out of a bathroom at a Fish concert. Some of you guys get it. So there we go, guys. Phantom Elixir. I know the initial reaction toward this one is probably gonna be negative. It's kind of low-hanging fruit. It's a stupid robot. And it's an Elixir. The worst of both worlds. The worlds where robot bottles are common, I guess, I don't know. But yeah, it's gonna catch some hate, catch some flack, catch some strays. It's actually pretty nice, real pleasant. Does it set my world on fire? Not really, but I like it. Easy to wear, it's good, it's okay, it's good. So there it is, the new robot. If you stop into your local Macy's, they have this stuff now, I guess. So give it a spray, see how you like it. And even if you've hated some of the other Paco Rabanne Phantoms, if you don't mind fragrances that are a little vanilla forward, with that sort of fizzy, very jumpy opening that a number of vanilla forward fragrances do have. But then with the pleasant minerality and lightly edgy woodiness that really becomes the main factor of the fragrance, I'd say it's worth checking out. Stay safe out there, guys. I will see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you later.